On this episode, we're going to be talking to Neil Twa. He is a prominent figure in the e-commerce industry, known for his expertise in building and scaling online businesses. He is the co-founder and CEO of Voltage Holdings, a company that specializes in digital marketing and e-commerce strategies, particularly through Amazon's FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon platform. With over 9 years of experience, Neil has successfully launched, managed numerous private label brands, contributing sales exceeding 100 million in physical products. His approach emphasizes sustainable revenue and automated income strategies, which he discusses in his recent book, Almost Automated Income with FBA, which has been recognized as the number one new release in its category. In addition to his entrepreneurial ventures, Neil is the host of High Voltage Business Builders podcast, where he shares insights on business growth and strategies for success in e-commerce. His podcast features discussions on various topics relevant to entrepreneurs and business owners looking to enhance their operations and profitability. He also, as I said, authored the book Almost Automated Income with FBA, which provides insights in creating passive income through Amazon FBA. This has been well received and a good read. Neil's business philosophy is he emphasizes the importance of tangible products in e-commerce, arguing that physical products create a stronger transactional relationship with customers compared to digital products. He believes that understanding both digital and physical product sales is crucial for success in today's market. Welcome, Neil.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
So I want to jump right in and know, what are the initial aha moments that got you to where you are today?
Wow, one of the initial aha moments. That's a tough one. I'll try to summarize as simply as I can. I think what was, for me, as I was always an aspiring entrepreneur. I was pushed by my uncle, who was an entrepreneur. My dad wasn't. He was just a hardworking, beautiful man. He's 82. He's just, taught you to. He was an old Navy veteran. He's the suck it up buttercup guy, taught me the ways of life and how to be a man. But we didn't talk about finances and money. And my uncle was more about finances, money, building, and entrepreneurialism. And he always pushed me to do my own thing. So I was always kind of an aspiring entrepreneur, even though I was in the corporate world for a while, because that's what it took for me to get going. But I think one of my biggest aha moments was in the first, I think 2 to 3 years as I launched out of IBM in 2007 and went into my own business. Just how much I didn't know about actually being in business, and how much I thought I could do and didn't realize I needed to learn and know in that process of the different aspects of business. And I was protected through the corporate world of not knowing how to deal and do with some of those things. And so I kind of fell flat on my face, not realizing all the different areas of focus I really needed to understand. I didn't need to do them all. And that was probably my biggest aha moment, was the realization I was trying to do too many of them and trying to learn every aspect of it in the detailed tactical side, when really I needed to know enough to be dangerous.
And at what stage or what time frame was this at in terms of where online shopping and FBA and Amazon was at that time?
So FBA by Amazon was just an inkling. It was actually, FBA is a logistics company. They rebranded it when Amazon purchased it. It's actually a separate company that Amazon acquired in the logistics to allow their last mile delivery. So they were using third-party companies with books originally. And then somewhere around 2008 or so, I believe, 9, 10, somewhere in that range, I'll have to look this up to be more specific, but they purchased that company to allow fulfillment of all products because they were just doing books originally. So it changed quite dramatically during that time frame when they started to allow all these other products onto the platform to sell them.
And at that point, did you have an inkling that this is going to be what it is now?
I actually did. I had insights into it. I was watching it. And when I got out of college, I jokingly said there was a couple of things I wanted to do. Either I was going to go find a job or go sit on Amazon's doorstep until they hired me. That didn't happen, right? So I didn't do that part. So I went out and I got the job instead. So I'd watched them for a while and I saw what was happening. And as I got more into the digital marketing side of my business and started to kind of formulate where my real skills and expertise was, and where else I needed to get people involved where I wasn't an expert in the business, I discovered I was better at the marketing and narrative, brand building, and lead generation side. I was better at driving the traffic and the numbers and understanding how to develop the business. And that's really where I was good at. And so with that, I learned more into the digital.
What was the insight that made you think that this was going to be a lot bigger than it was at the time you were looking at it?
So by the time I got into around 2010 to 12, I'd been in the driving of traffic for business and lead generation and doing a very good job of it. I just hadn't literally owned the offer. I was running the traffic, affiliate marketing, and lead gen, but I didn't actually own the product or service or offering on the back end. And so it constantly changed and I couldn't control it. And so one of the things I realized about business, obviously, you need to control the beginning and the end of your product and your service, not having so many people do it for you. So it's great to get started and it's good to do things like affiliate marketing and stuff. It's a great way to get off the ground if you're new to business or something. But ultimately, if you're becoming a serious business owner, you can't rely on the other person to completely deliver the service or product if you don't control some aspect of it yourself. And so I went to search for the physical product side, led me back to Amazon and asking questions, and ran into a friend who said, "Hey, yeah, they're allowing us to ship our products in now, and the whole system is this, mechanics. They're doing all the last mile stuff with the products. They're delivering it to the customer, the support, the service, the warehousing. It's all done by them." And so it dawned on me that was where Amazon was going to be a juggernaut in the system. I kind of saw the writing on the wall, and I was like, okay, how do I get involved in that more? So I started launching brands, products in around 2013 or so. And by 2014, almost 2015, we had our first 7-figure brand on Amazon at that point. So I really saw the ecosystem growing extremely fast and could see where it was headed in the marketplace. I couldn't have personally projected. If I had, I probably would have dumped a lot more money in the stock because the stock did so well over these last 10 years, 11 years. But I've taken advantage of the system in a different way, not in the stock market way of wealth without Wall Street is what we call it. In doing the business and products, and really just saw that it was going to become an economic engine, and it did, and it has really become a juggernaut. It is, the de facto standard for an online purchasing and delivery now. It's where 49% of America buys its products.
So what were the initial products, and how did you identify them in terms of what you wanted to do?
Yeah, no, I mean, in simple terms, we just started flipping product for profit. I didn't understand the branding yet. I didn't really understand how to deliver the narrative of the product through that ecosystem. So what I was trying to do was just find my way through it. So we were just flipping products for profit. We were finding low priced arbitrage products, brand new, and we were shipping them to Amazon. And I was just doing the regular arbitrage kind of model to kick it off. There was a lot less overhead. There were a lot less people doing it. Amazon's restrictions weren't in place for that. It was kind of a wide open, Wild West kind of thing. So it really wasn't hard to get to 100K in flipping products. And so that's where we started, was just finding products to sell, buy low, sell high.
And then how did that change over time? Because now I don't think you actually buy products, you're actually making them, right? You're having unique products made, right? And so tell me about the aha moment that led to that shift.
Well, the second aha moment was just a realization of the first aha moment, which was when we were going to get the products, we weren't controlling the manufacturing. We weren't controlling the output. We'd get 100 of these or 600 of that, and it'd sell really well, and then it'd run out. And so you were in this constant jungle of rebuilding a job, basically, of finding products, sourcing products, buying products, selling products. And this engine was just overwhelming, right? And it was so much that I couldn't keep up with it, really, at the end of the day. And so it led us to realizing, we need to control the brand of the product, the last mile. So we went to manufacturing and we started to have products built for us. It takes a little more time, a little more capital, but the end result is it can be much larger, 10 times greater, with more automations and more system components and technology running a lot of it, where we didn't need the warehouse anymore. We didn't need the 12 people. We didn't need all that infrastructure anymore because most of the automation and systems were there. And quite frankly, in the last 5 years, so much more of it has come online, and it just made it easier. Frankly, we were still in an uphill battle. So once again, this aha moment was own the manufacturing, the product, intellectual property, control the brand, control the outcome.
And what process did you go to identify which products you want to manufacture?
Some of it was trial and error from the very beginning. It was just testing to see which products we could sell. We sold in categories we don't sell in now because they've become too saturated. We sell at price points different than we used to because those have become saturated. So we really kind of niched into building the business of what we wanted to do and how we wanted to be profitable and where we wanted it to go. And we just kind of took this big set of criteria and data and just kept whittling it down into just a very specific focused area. We call it the green light process now, which is there's 4 metrics that the product data set has to go green light on, or we simply won't test the product. We take it to the manufacturer, we validate that data as long as profitability, sellability, volume of search, and other metrics we define meet that criteria, we test launch the product. So we just discovered we weren't smart enough to tell the market what it wants. And I think a lot of people hear this maybe, or they're online, or they still have that, if you build it, they will come Iowa thing from the movies, or maybe they got the Shark Tank mentality a little bit, right? And they think I've got to invent something holistically unique, or no one's going to buy it, or I'm never going to become a millionaire. And the answer is innovation over invention, right? We learned that innovating product differentiation and trademarking it and building innovative versions of existing products, and then having them manufactured for us and controlling the outcome was the fastest way to build into the millions of dollars. And that's what we did. We just followed that process until it became a standardized process. So we don't sell products less than $50. We sell $50 to $500. We have a minimum profitability margin of $12 in net profit per unit. It's got to be more than that. And then they have to meet certain criteria in the market for the amount of volume and search that is currently in demand for that product so that we can capture that on Amazon. It's a demand capture platform now.
And also, I guess you need to show or feel there's enough demand available there, right? And you can have a product.
So we have minimum search criteria. It must be searched more than a couple million searches a year. It can't be saturated in a price point or innovative changes to it will differentiate it into an opportunity to let it go for the next 2, 3, 5, 7 years, hopefully, in terms of product life cycle, because all products have a life cycle. We learned not to marry our products. Okay, never marry a product you launch. You may think you're super smart with the market and you got all the data that looks right, and you take it out into the market and it's like, yeah, people did not want that variation, or we didn't hit the copy, or we didn't hit the imagery right. We just didn't get the conversion data right. So we'll tweak it and we'll play with it. And if it doesn't work, we just move to the next product.
I think you hit upon an interesting point. A lot of people may not realize about invention versus innovation. And I think there's lots of room to innovate in many different areas. So tell me a couple of examples of how you saw something but differentiated, and why did you differentiate that way, and how that slight differentiation just led to an explosion in what you thought was going to happen.
We sold more than $1 million of a product that we innovated that I discovered one morning when I was up feeding my third daughter. I have 4 daughters. We had them all in 4.5 years. So for the better part of a decade, we didn't sleep. And in one of those nights when the third child, Lily, was up and she wanted a bottle at like 4 a.m, and I was taking care of it. Mom was super tired. I was a late night owl. I go to bed at like 1 or 2 o'clock. I'd get up at like 7 or 8. She's at, the early. So we had a great shift. It's a good team atmosphere. We just take different shifts. And so my shift was early morning, and I'd get up and feed her the bottle. And I was up, flipping through the infomercials, and up pops this product on the infomercial. And it's like, it's this seat pet thing. And it's like, this great thing you put in, and it keeps their head from falling over. And it's got the little, cute cuddly thing, and it goes in the car with them, and they can take it out. And, it's just like super cool. And I'm thinking, oh, I need to get one of those for my girls. And it dawns on me. It's like, the conditional change of your brain from consumer to business owner to product developers. Like, hey, could I sell one of those? So we took one and we bought it, and we got it and reverse engineered it pretty quick and said, hey, we can innovate this. We can change it up a little bit. We can, change 3 or 4 things to this product and make it a little better. We see they're on Amazon, but they're not really doing a very good job of it at all. So I bet we can capture that demand that's coming from those television commercials. Clearly, there's a lot of it when they're making infomercials. And let's see if we can make one. So we made something called Belt Buddies. And we put a slight anime looking character face, which just innovated away from a typical dog and penguin, whatever. We made an anime version of it. We stuffed it with some extra stuffing because people mentioned that it was too flimsy and they didn't like the pockets being so small. So we made the pockets a little better. And quite a few of the reviews said people, the stitching was coming apart. So we asked them to double down on the stitching to make sure that it was solid. So we ordered 2,000 of those on a Hail Mary, and I put my half of it on a credit card. And we launched those things. In 8 weeks, we sold 2,000 of them completely organically. And we sold them for about $5 more than the competitor was selling them. And that launched that brand called Belt Buddies. And we launched an innovative version of that product that was in the market, and it was in demand. We saw it was moving. We simply put our variation in front of the traffic that was there, like a lemonade stand on the freeway. We put our lemonade stand up there and said we had pink lemonade and cookies, and they had yellow lemonade and cupcakes. And everybody's like, we want the pink lemonade and cookies, and they took ours instead. And we launched that brand like crazy. And all it was just an innovation on the product that existed. And there are millions of ways to innovate products in the marketplace.
Absolutely. And actually, there's different ways to innovate, right? I mean, so I'm curious. You've done many products now. And just give me kind of a rough idea. How much of the innovation is based on product innovation versus packaging versus, something else, right? Even just could be sometimes even size or even messaging, right? So I'm curious, what do you find kind of happening more often?
The most real world, listen, that's right. The most real, why can't I say that?
Real
world example. I can't get that out of my mouth. Is that
we'll practice later.
Yeah, right. Android and iPhone. I'm going to do this. I am going to go there. Okay. Android packaging is bad. compared to the iPhone product experience and the packaging and the look and feel. It makes a difference in the way it's weighted, it feels, it's professional, the look, the copy, the gloss. Everything gives you a feeling that you're getting something of value. But in the iPhone world, even though I have an iPhone, I'm not a fanboy, and I've preferred it over Android, which I've had in the past because it's more technical and et cetera. And the iPhones are a little easier to run, and but in actuality, the Androids have more technical innovations, more features. They have additional things that iPhone hasn't even done or is just doing, would have been out there for years. Technically, they're more advanced. But from the world of professionalism, from the world of the look and feel and branding and packaging, iPhone is winning the day. Even though their innovations and stuff aren't necessarily better in many ways than Android, I still prefer the phone myself on the iPhone side. But it's a value statement of the presentation and packaging. So when we test launch a product, we do that first. We go for presentation, branding, and packaging first, even if the product does not have a differentiating feature set in the market yet. All we're looking to do is test and say, can we get someone, can we get relevancy of our product, copy, et cetera, in the market and get someone to buy it? Because the phrase we hung on to is sales fixes everything. Okay. First and foremost, if I can sell the product, I can change its innovations, I can manage and manipulate the product packaging itself in the market to meet and align customer demand, right? If I go spend 2 years developing a product, go get patents, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then don't really know how to sell it correctly in the market, it'll be the best invention no one's ever heard of. So we need a balance of the two. And we learned the first thing to do is figure out if you can sell the dang thing. Very quickly, will you then adapt the product right after that? So then we'll take the next 1,000 units and we'll innovate that 1,000 unit product. But first we upgrade the packaging. We make sure everything is very presentation friendly, as well as more of an iPhone style presentation. So we spend more on the box and packaging to give people that wow moment, that moment they're like, oh, this isn't just a box from China. This is actually a brand. I got something good out of this. And then the perception level of the product itself changes, even if the product initially for the first 100 units is the same as another product in the marketplace. Okay. Now, we're not going to sell the Me Too product, not ultimately, because we don't want the negative reviews. We don't want to be seen as the standard product. We want to elevate the product. Well, we're going to do that once we start selling the product and we prove the product can sell, which means we're going to put more time, energy, attention, and money towards the product that it's selling. So if I launch 5 products, law of averages says 1 or 2 of those products is going to kick off. I'm going to do something right. If I launch 1 product or 2 products thinking I'm going to get it all right, that's a hopium guru lottery mindset, scratch and sniff mentality. And that's not how business works. We test, right? And so if it goes off, then we innovate the 1,000. We change up the product to match, as I mentioned a minute ago, the types of things we see that are wrong with the other products. We will innovate away from those products. And then we will go into profit with the product. And not only will they get a great package and we are selling the product, we'll get the positive reviews and the better experience because we have the features and benefits to extol. Our product does these 3 things that the other one doesn't.
But no, that I suspect, and correct me if I'm wrong, that a lot of these innovations are done to actually increase the price. And whereas a lot of people on Amazon are, I think, competing on pricing, and that's the innovation, but it really isn't. That's the race to the bottom.
It is. That's why we say friends here at Voltage, friends don't let friends sell $20 products on Amazon. Because it is usually a race to the bottom pricing when instead we're building brand narrative, we're taking a brand story and building in increased value, and we're going the other direction. Our question is, can we sell, the 99 version for $199? If we can sell the $199, what about the $399 version? Because it always can go up in tiers. It's a limiting scarcity mindset that says it can't be done and I can't get volume if I don't lower price. And that's an amateur move that most aspiring entrepreneurs haven't figured out. I didn't get it when I first started 17 years ago. But what really, one aha moment that hit me was about a year after I left. I'd forgotten this until I just said this out loud. But I went back to a project on IBM and the partner called me up where I was originally working as a W-2 employee and said, hey, can you come back on a short-term contract for 6 months and help us fix this project that's falling apart since you left? And I'm like, absolutely. He's like, what's your cost? I was like $250 an hour plus per diem every day, and you cover my flight costs. And he's like, done. And my mind just kind of went, like, I was like, really? He goes, yeah, that's it. When can you be here? So I went from, a high-end employee to charging $250 an hour. And I was like, wow, wait a minute. Okay, there's the real value of what I was actually offering. You have to get your mind to change and get out of it, because if you may not buy it for $99, there is someone else that will. If you won't buy the $1,000 Prada purse for your wife, someone else will. This is all you holding this mindset back, literally.
Yeah, and the thing is, if people actually recognize there's quality, they're willing to pay. They're not that price sensitive.
100%. Oh, we got to deliver quality. You'll get negative reviews. When the negative reviews come in, the whole thing falls apart. You can sell the crap out of it, but if you can't deliver a product that people actually want, it breaks in the first 5 minutes and it doesn't really have the value statement, it's going to crash and burn, especially on a marketplace like Amazon, where reviews will eat you alive if your product is bad.
So I'm curious. There's quite a few people on Amazon that are very smart as well. How how often do you find that there's a certain amount of time from when others start catching up to the innovations you're kind of doing?
Well, technically, I'm going into markets where people have already they've been evergreen. There's 10, 20 million searches a year that have been there for year after year after year. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, there's a specific area, the riches are in the niches, right? This is one of the reasons why I've stayed focused on Amazon for 10 years as a channel of an e-commerce business model. Okay. It isn't just single channels, it's multiple channels, must be, okay, to create a real business. Just so we're very clear. Everybody's like, Amazon FBA is not a business, it's a single sales channel. Okay. But in there, I stayed there because it is an ecosystem by which 150 million people went there every month to buy. That's all they're doing. They're buying, right? And so, okay, get your product in front of them where people want to buy, right? That's not too rocket science. But there are a lot of smart people selling on Amazon, but there's also a majority of Amazon sellers who are not playing the game at the same level we were and are now. They're playing the game at the side hustle or hobby business. We're playing it as building a brand of a multi-channel. So we're coming in the first year and spending $100,000 minimum into a brand to launch a product and test it and validate it and expand it into the market over years 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we have very different strategies and willingness to deploy capital than the average Joe would. And really, that's where the competition needs to be now in the year 2025. Narrative driven, you must come in with a market and business strategy, and you must be willing to deploy that time, energy, attention, and money required to really compete in the marketplace. And so when you get down to these niches that we get into, there may be, say, 60 competitors on all of Amazon that are selling the products we're going to go attack. But we have done our homework and now found that the top 6, 7, 8 of those do 80% of all of those sales available. And then we're going to dial in on those 5, 6, 7, 8 particular products. And we're shooting to be number 2 within 3 to 5 years. Because number 2, on a 20 million a year search, right, means if I just tap 1% of that market, I'm going to have a multi 7-figure, even 8-figure business. Single to double digit profits at the bottom line. So then we're going to just spend our entire focus and attention attacking those specific brands. There's a billion plus SKUs on Amazon, only 6% meet that criteria. There are over 12,000 nodes or niches within Amazon's filing system of data to be targeted, but we found that only about 3% of those we want to go after. There are still millions of products within that 3%, okay, just to be very clear. And there are huge brand opportunities. But at the level we're coming in, at the barrier of entry and the price point and the market competition, we know that when we go in there, the profit's there, the competition is there, and in just a matter of time, we're going to start whittling away on their market share.
Yeah, I can tell you guys have certainly fine-tuned how to mitigate as much risk as possible. There's always some risk, right? But it also sounds like your prices, the categories you're in, you're in higher price ranges, and I think you've had to do that over time. So I'm wondering, are you seeing like an upper limit, or you think this, because obviously as you go up, you have to have more investment in the products as well, right?
Well, of course, that's where it gets down to. And that's the main thing. Look, you can sell $100,000 in products on any one of these channels, Amazon, TikTok, Shopify, etc. But to create $1 million brand, you need systems and processes and some experience to know the pitfalls and things needed to really scale and effectively deploy that capital, right? And when you obviously get out into the market, I will tell you the one limiting factor is capitalization for physical product inventory based businesses. So don't consider, if you're an aspiring entrepreneur, there are franchises out there we got to deploy $100,000 or $1 million to get into them. Okay. And if you're even considering that, then keep the same mindset when you get into an idea that you're launching an e-commerce company. You'll be on the right path in terms of your mindset. Okay. Why? Because it isn't the first 100,000 into the business. Is when the business comes back and says, we need 250,000 in a PO. And oh, by the way, now we're going to be shipping 40-foot containers every month. When the business is driving that need, you have to go with it. If you can't go with it, if you can't deploy the capital, if you aren't willing to take the risk, the business is not holding itself back. You are holding the business back. And that's one of the number one factors I see continuously with people is they'll get out and they'll do well, and then they can't reach that next level of risk. And if they can't, they capitulate the business growth, not the business. It's hard for you to admit that in yourself. And since I've been there before and I've, failed a business completely into a business strategy bankruptcy that was required to get out from underneath it, I will tell you that you aren't willing to risk enough to see these businesses grow. And if you look at people with Voltage who have done that, then you will see some very tremendous case studies. Because when the business says go, most people miss it. It's like a wave on an ocean, and you got to catch it. And you can see wave after wave coming in, and it's your opportunity once you get in there to get that wave. And once you catch that wave, these businesses can go in 3 and 5 years to tens of millions of dollars when done right. So as we're looking right now, last part of that was we're deploying capital into buying companies, and the one we're really close to buying, and hopefully we'll close by the end of January, is over $10 million a year. Their product starts at $1,600 and goes up to $2,500 for the second product, and we're going to be putting those on Amazon. You asked what the top end was? Well, that's going to be my new top end, $1,600 to $2,500 per product on Amazon.
Yeah, you have far fewer competitors as well, but I don't think you worry about the competitors really. I think you're more focused on what can you do, because you're going to lead the way, and eventually they're going to be trying to follow you.
That's very well said. So many people are like, well, how much do they sell? I don't care. Well, what kind of things do they do? Don't really care yet. I mean, what I'm going to look at is say, is there a market? Is there a demand? Is there searches? And then I'm going to back that into where are we getting our seller account, our products, and our brand into the market? How much are we selling? Are we maintaining profitability? Is our average order value where it needs to be? Is our customer lifetime value over 12 and 24 months look like this? And then we're going to go in and just say, okay, now we're chipping away at that market share as we see that as a result of that particular opportunity. This business is a direct-to-consumer business selling through phone sales and direct-to-consumer. They have no Amazon presence. But when I go to Amazon, guess what? The competition is there. So am I going to naturally say I need to be there? Yeah. And if you are an entrepreneur in the DTC world, direct to consumer, you're on Shopify or TikTok, but you don't have a strong Amazon presence, well, guess what? You're missing a huge opportunity. And so we're going to take this business over on Amazon and capture the money that's already spilling over there that's just being missed. It's going to be found money.
Yeah. So what would you say are the 3 common mistakes most people do that really inhibit them from doing well on Amazon?
First, they treat a business, regardless of whichever channel, Amazon or whatever, as a side hustle or a hobby business. They really do. They don't come in with the right mindset. They don't come in with the right risk level. They don't come in with the right capitalization. So really, they treat it like a side hustle or hobby. They limit their opportunities, right? They have a scarcity belief. They come in with the idea that maybe I just want to make a few $1,000s a month, which is cool. I would have loved that when I had no money. But at the end of the day, they're not thinking big enough. They're not playing big enough. Okay? The second component of that is they don't know what they don't know, and they're going to spend a lot longer and a lot more money trying to figure it out unless they would have hired somebody or got in front of somebody with experience to help them overcome those hurdles and move a lot faster while deploying capital the right way. Okay. And the third thing is they will typically not realize that businesses fail in years 3, 4, and 5. They typically don't fail in years 1 and 2. Do you understand? And so they are not thinking in a 3 to 5 year opportunity. They're thinking in a 3 to 5 month or 3 to 5 minute. And there are things behind their persona, their perseverance, their tenacity, their willingness to, go through what is required in 3 to 5 years so they can live like nobody else can afterwards. And they mistakenly shortcome the time required for them to learn, execute, deploy, and become successful in the specific area that will change in the way they're doing business. At 17 years, I probably pivoted like 20 times in that time frame, right?
Yeah, I would argue that for most businesses, it takes about 3 years to get to profitability.
It can in certain industries. Absolutely, it certainly can. Minimum. We shoot for less than 24 months in the e-com world because of the amount of volume and traffic that's possible. But definitely year 1 is the building year. Everyone should understand that. If you're truly going to build a business that creates generational time and wealth freedom, which this can do, it did it for me, then you want to say year 1 is my building year. Year 1 is my deployment. Year 2 is my growth to profit year, right? So within 12 to 24 months, I'm not only growing, but I've got profits, and profits I'm taking distributions. I'm paying myself back so that I can continue to expand the business into years 3, 4, and 5, where if I'm doing a great job and I'm redeploying capital and I'm leveling up my risk to meet the market needs, I'll be in scale for that business. At which point I could be tossing off some great profits, but really what I'm shooting for is the exit. We call it the platinum principle, right? And that is these businesses are worth more in the end than at any time during the business building phase. So by the time you build that asset like a house, you have appreciated the asset over time. The cash value has grown over time. The revenues and profit are growing over time. And of course, the saleability of that asset could be between 3 to 10x the profit in that business, creating a huge windfall when you do sell it. And oh, by the way, I'm buying. Did I mention that earlier? So those who work with us are building to an exit. And then I'm the first person they stop at when the business reaches more than $1 million in EBITDA, and I want to look at buying it.
Are you when you want to buy, are you looking at profits or actually growth, or which is more important to you?
Well, first off, it's sustainability over more than 3 to 5 years with more than $1 million to 5 million in profit. That just shows market opportunity, market share, longevity, and stability of the business. Okay. They will typically have more than one sales channel, but in many ways, they haven't had the knowledge or expertise to deploy into certain sales channels or the capitalization to deploy them. They've stayed good and focused. That's why they're having success. They just can't expand in some ways beyond where they currently are because they need more capital, more people. They need more resources. And that's what they're usually missing for those next levels of growth. So we see that as both a minimum validation of the profitability and growth, what we call our buy box. And then we're looking at it and saying, where are the other channels? Where are the other distributions? If this product is really great for Costco, we're going to go solicit Costco buyers and say, can we get a sample in your stores? If they're not on Amazon, we're going to do that. If they're on Amazon, but not a direct to consumer channel, that's the first stops we're going to make. We're going to make slight changes and variations in the second year, but not the first year. First year is always stability of growth, operations, and efficiencies is what we're looking for.
So I'm curious. I suspect a lot of your products from overseas. How do you deal with currency exchange risk?
Well, that's sort of taken through technology now.
Explain. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, the systems by which currency exchange happens now is the dollar is the basis of most every fundamental change. And so when we're talking to India or Pakistan or China or whatever, we're talking in USD. As the coming systems are changing, we see things, I personally see things like Ripple's XRP platform and its ledger changing the way currency exchanges reconcile in the ledger, which is going to make it faster and easier than, say, Swift codes or transfers and wires that we do today to move product around the world. This is going to create efficiencies and securities, which I appreciate for the way we move products. We have some manufacturers in the U.S. We have looked into Mexico, but found mostly China, who is trying to avoid American tariffs by setting up shop in Mexico. That loophole is all closing. I'm not afraid of tariffs because it's a balancing thing, and this isn't really the answer to your question. But I'm just speaking about things that are, it's for us that it's interesting now. If tariffs increase in other ways, then they have to rebalance it on the other side. So if they're going to take care of, say, taxes and federal taxes and other things over here and remove some of those things or restrict certain limits and capital gains and anything else that they change over here, then if they're increasing tariffs over here, it's going to balance out. And not everybody understands those economics as they should, because you and I shouldn't be doing that ourselves personally. I'll say that. I'm not concerned because I'm seeing the opportunity to balance out. And when they do that, the fair market of the trade is going to come back. And with tariffs on China and other locations are going to be a problem, then it's going to basically default back to the US dollar as a standard. So really, it doesn't end up being a problem. Just the mechanisms by which we're going to do it are changing, and the alignment of the numbers are going to change.
Right. Do you see yourself also shifting sourcing to other countries now as well?
Oh, we do. We already are. I mean, China is just one location. Everybody defaults to China. It's kind of a standard, bullet check on the list of, everybody's talking point. But you can get product all over the world now. We have a couple manufacturers in the US. It's just a matter of price point and deliverability of the product. Many people look outside the US because they're always trying to get the lowest cost volume dollar of the product. And as I've explained before, I want to create a great product once I prove I can test it. And if I can find a manufacturer in the United States who may have, $3 or $4 or $5 cost of goods more because of American wages, labor, et cetera, on top of it, and I can still meet my profitability and my numbers pencil in for the higher level types of products I have, then they don't have to come from overseas, right? They could be made here in America. It's just a numbers game. If the numbers are going to look better, which I hope they will, then we will do more US based onshore manufacturing in Canada or Mexico or in the US itself. But as it is, we do things in India and Pakistan and Italy and Vietnam and, around in China, of course, to find products and where they are currently tooled, manufactured, and the pipeline is currently there. But, there's a lot of things that were made in China can be made in other locations now. And if you are selling it well in China and you have the margins, then we'll look for redundancies. We got sourcing agents in other locations. We'll say, okay, could we make that in India, or could they tool up in Vietnam for products like that? And if they can and it's worth it, then we may have them tool up a secondary location for redundancy, failover, and growth needs, and just making sure it's safe. I think the biggest concern I have at the end of the day is, I have children. I don't want them working in slave labor, so I want to make sure, and we have feet on the street in those locations, sourcing agents that are bilingual and on the ground to go to those locations and double check that their human rights conditions are in order.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think even perception-wise, a lot of products from other countries other than China have a higher quality perception too.
They can absolutely. And you can get good stuff out of China too, especially if you're, when you are looking for certain manufacturers for certain product types, the quality and control mechanism of the product and its profitability change than when you're looking at selling a $20 product you're trying to source from $3 from China. The whole value, the whole manufacturing changes.
No, but going back to what you said earlier, like if you get something from China in a box like that from China, it changes your perception of quality, right?
Well, of course, and most people should understand that while 60% of the sellers on Amazon are third-party sellers, okay, which is important to understand, about 50% of those are Chinese sellers now. So when you split that difference and go down one more layer, here's where the real challenge is, and here's what I really hope in the next year we see it change, is that imbalance churns. Why? Because that direct-to-consumer flooded marketplace of Chinese sellers is getting away with murder on Amazon, and they need to change these practices, right? They're circumventing reviews. They're doing things with things. They're not getting kicked off the platform like I would if I did those things. And so that has got to change. Just being exposed right now, too, which is fun to watch as they get hammered on X and the platforms where people are starting to recognize that China and Amazon are not playing a fair game against U.S. businesses. And those are one of the, I always want to talk about pros and cons. That's a con. So the way to get around that con, which is so many sellers that are Chinese sending products with Chinese boxes, to your point, is to elevate the brand. Elevate your brand, elevate your pricing, elevate your differentiation, and get out of the competition where China does not want to compete with you.
Well, I mean, the whole platform Temu, right? I mean, that's pure China.
Yes. Amazon Haul is their answer to that. So they have courted Chinese sellers, and they are. And in the interest of America, I hope that changes, because we should have more small businesses on Amazon than third-party foreign countries. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah. So what do you see in the future happening, and what role do you see AI playing, if any, in what you're doing?
AI already plays a huge role in what we're doing. The systems of our processes, our research systems that automatically go out, we're enhancing those right now on a new version of our Greenlight dashboard, which has got AI-driven tool sets in it. We use AI for the copywriting. We use it for the images. We use it to validate the product segment base in a new effort that we're now rolling out because we've tested it long enough to realize it's working extremely well. We had a focus group of people we would go to through a couple of services that would take our product base and say, okay, based on the images, graphics, et cetera, which of these would you buy, listing wise, images, copy, which one? We do a survey to the group, and they'd come back and say, we like this image, this product, we like this type. And we take that, and that would help us dial in the product as we went to market. And it was an actual group of people who were Prime members on Amazon. So we went out and created an AI agent. And we gave it all that information and kept feeding that agent the information. Then we started giving it products and having it go through the same survey process. What we discovered was it was 100% accurate every time. So instead of going to the focus group in a second service, we now take all of that data to the AI agent and ask it, which of these ones would we rather sell? And it tells us now. So AI has become very instrumental in the final steps of having a really 80% confidence the product will sell, it sells well, and it's profitable. The 20% was when we send it to the market and actually put it up for sale and have them tell us, did we get it right? How close were we? And how much do you want? Or which variations of it do you want? AI hasn't gotten us there yet. But Amazon itself is deploying, I think, somewhere around 80 billion. They brought Jeff Bezos in, and AI is going to be a huge component of this year for them. Systems and automation, things like it's called Rufus, which is an AI assistant tool on Amazon. Helping to determine which product you might want or interest you might want based on your profile, your visibility. Cosmo, which is the underlying engine of ranking and relevancy, used to be called the A9 engine for Amazon ranking relevancy. It's called Cosmo now. And with that, it is using all kinds of data points, including Rufus and what are you viewing or doing online, including what you're watching on Prime or Freevee or Twitch, the systems that they have bought. It's taking that data and using that and saying, oh, well, if he likes fishing channels and he's buying fishing stuff on Amazon, well, let's only show him fishing supplies and bass fishing stuff, right? And so it's becoming almost Minority Report relevant in that. So yeah, AI is becoming a huge part of what we're doing. We use it to analyze products and analyze data. Once we get data back, we give it to agents, and it tells us, based on that, here's the probability this product will have success. It's incorporated into daily, weekly, monthly processes now inside of our organization.
Nice. So last question I often ask people, if you could have lunch or dinner with anyone in your industry, who would it be and why?
Well, I would probably say, due to the impact it might have on my clients and my business, I would say Jeff Bezos. And then we would sit down and talk about how to freaking get rid of Amazon's Chinese sellers. Okay, man, let me buy you lunch. Let's have a conversation. Let's figure this out. I know it's benefit to the company, and I get it all. I'm a businessman. However, I still think there's a lot of US-based individuals and businesses who would have a lot more opportunity if, and I'm not saying foreign competition isn't bad. Competition is good. It's when it's unfair practices in the marketplace. And I'd probably have that conversation with over lunch for whatever good it would do.
Well, I hope that happens and help everybody else. So
I don't know, Jeff. You're out there, man. Hit me up when you're done being married or whatever it is that just happened.
Well, Neil, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I appreciate it. And I look forward to maybe revisiting you later on and seeing where everything's going with the world of fulfillment and all these multi-channel things. So thank you very much for your insights.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Getting to AHA was brought to you by iResearch. To find out more about us, head to iResearch.com and make sure to search for Getting to AHA in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else podcasts are found. And don't forget to click follow to ensure you don't miss any future episodes. Thank you for listening.